Welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you've been following the decentralized world lately, you know the atmosphere is, well, it's less like a steady river and more like a rocket launch running on pure adrenaline, especially here in January 2026.
It's been incredibly volatile.
Absolutely. And against this backdrop, we have Charles Hoskinson, Cardano founder, Ethereum co-founder, who has just tossed a strategic information grenade right into the middle of the whole conversation.
Yeah, and I'd say it was a targeted action, not just random noise. We're watching a huge pivot involving two of the biggest rivals in the space, ADA for Cardano and XRP.
And critically, this is all happening right where these assets intersect with high-level U.S. politics, which is it's just generating massive friction and debate everywhere. So our mission today for you, the learner, is really to provide some clarity. We've got a fantastic stack of sources here, Hoskinson's direct posts, some great analysis from CoinDesk, and some really crucial academic research from places like Cornell, Stanford, and IOHK.
Right. We're here to cut through the inevitable community hype and the political noise to just verify the facts. We need to understand the real implications of what he's proposing, which is, it's basically unifying historical competitors.
So we're going to synthesize all of that. We'll focus on three main areas. First, his very sharp critique of U.S. crypto policy, which he called rule by tweet.
Then we'll get into the pivot, the dramatic shift where he apologizes and actually proposes working with the XRP community, which, has often been pretty antagonistic.
And finally, the really big one, the massive economic potential of a cross-chain DeFi integration between these two ecosystems.
Exactly.
So let's unpack that first point, because it immediately throws Hoskinson right into the political spotlight. The whole controversy really kicks off with his criticism of Donald Trump's proposal. The idea that was floated to include cryptocurrencies like XRP, ADA, and Solana in a U.S. strategic national reserve. Now, on the surface, isn't that a massive win? Isn't government recognition what everyone wants?
You'd think so, and that's the critical question, right? What's fascinating here isn't the recognition itself, but the way it was proposed. Hoskinson called it rule by tweet.
Okay.
His core criticism isn't about the intent, it's about the lack of any formal process. Announcing something that could shift billion-dollar markets through a tweet. It just screams market manipulation and regulatory chaos.
And he wasn't just worried about the immediate market reaction, was he? Looking at the source material, his concern was much deeper. It was about future political fallout.
Absolutely. He was looking way ahead to the next election cycle. He actually detailed his thought process. He said something like, when the president said that ADA is in the reserve, XRP is in the reserve, I thought, okay, now they are going to cite me when the Democrats return.
So he's worried about being used as a political football.
That statement just perfectly encapsulates his fear. It risks turning crypto into a purely partisan issue. And instead of it being this neutral, global financial infrastructure, it just becomes ammunition in a political war.
Which raises the question, can the industry really afford to alienate, half of its potential user base?
Exactly.
And this isn't just some theoretical worry. We have actual data that, gives his critique some real teeth.
Right. There are these studies from Stanford University, and they're based on adoption data from 2020 all the way through 2025. And they show this really clear link between political uncertainty and economic stagnation in crypto.
And what did they find specifically?
They found that these unpredictable policies, this exact kind of rule by tweet governance, can cut overall institutional crypto adoption by a measurable 15 to 25%.
Wow. So that connects his political concern directly to a real measurable economic risk.
It does. Think about it. The big institutional investors, the ones bringing billions in capital, they value predictability above almost anything else. If they see policies changing based on a tweet instead of a formal regulatory process, they get spooked.
They sit on the sidelines.
They sit on the sidelines. That 15 to 25% reduction, that's institutional capital that's just waiting out of fear of what they call regulatory whiplash.
So this whole political firestorm clearly raised the stakes and forced him to look inward, to ask if the crypto space can really afford these internal feuds when the external pressure is so high.
And that realization seems to be what prompted this massive shift in his rhetoric.
Which brings us to our second section.
Yeah.
The unexpected alliance. The olive branch between these bitter rivals.
Yeah, and historically, the friction between Hoskinson and the XRP community was, it was palpable. You could feel it. Back in 2023, 2024, he was actively denying these conspiracy theories about the SEC favoring Ethereum over Ripple.
Right. There was genuine, very public antagonism there.
A lot of it played out on social media, so when we see him pivot in late 2025 and into this year, it's not just a surprise, it's a seismic shift in his entire strategy.
He issued a very public, very direct apology to the XRP community, and then immediately followed it up with a proposal for real technical collaborations.
And this was way beyond just a symbolic handshake. He laid out a whole technical roadmap. We're talking about building actual bridges for interoperability, integrating Cardano's new privacy solution, the Midnight Protocol, with Ripple's systems.
And even participating directly in Ripple's stablecoin, RLUSD.
Yes. The source material quotes him directly, he says, "I would like to apologize to the XRP community. I would love to build bridges from Midnight interoperability with Ripple to participating in their stablecoin RLUSD."
That level of detail, I mean, that shows this isn't just some PR stunt. This is a calculated strategic move.
It's a realignment, and it's all driven by shared economic goals. And this is where the actual tech becomes so important. Let's dig into that technical connection, because this is where the real value is for you, the learner.
Okay.
So the sources, especially the IOHK papers, they really emphasize that Cardano's Midnight Protocol is based on zero-knowledge proofs, or ZKPs.
Okay, for anyone not deep in the weeds on this, what does a zero-knowledge proof actually do in simple terms?
So ZKPs are basically a privacy tool. They let you prove something is true, like, say, that you have enough money for a transaction, without actually revealing the sensitive data itself, like your exact account balance.
Ah, okay. It's like proving you're old enough to buy a drink without showing your exact birth date on your ID.
That's a perfect analogy, exactly. So integrating this ZKP tech means Cardano could be used to add this really vital layer of verifiable privacy to transactions on the XRP ledger, which is, normally transparent.
So you get the best of both worlds.
Pretty much. You get Ripple's speed and regulatory engagement combined with Cardano's advanced privacy. That creates a much more robust and, frankly, a much more attractive product for big institutions.
And that technical interoperability, that just leads us right into Section 3, the cross-chain DeFi revolution. This is where that strategic alliance could translate into a massive market opportunity.
The vision is, it's truly ambitious. Hoskinson's plan is to create these cross-chain bridges that are strong enough to let these high-value assets that are usually stuck on their own chains, like Bitcoin and XRP flow, directly into Cardano's smart contract ecosystem.
Let's make that really tangible for everyone listening. Imagine you could lock up your BTC, which for most people just sits there as a store of value.
Yeah.
And use it to mint a stablecoin on Cardano. You're unlocking all that liquidity.
Or imagine taking all that XRP, which has historically been used for very specific payment corridors, and now you can use it as collateral in high-yield DeFi protocols on Cardano.
It's a total game changer for capital efficiency.
It is. And they are already past the talking stage. The sources confirm that Hoskinson is actively talking with David Schwartz, Ripple's CTO. They're exchanging academic papers. They're getting ready to build.
So it's moving from an idea to an actual engineering problem.
It is, and what's fascinating is they're aligning strategically even while they still disagree on some of the tech.
Yeah, there was a funny part in the reports where Hoskinson basically admits he still disagrees with Schwartz on things like incentive structures.
Right, but the business potential of the alliance is just too massive for either of them to ignore. It feels a bit like a forced marriage where both sides realize just how valuable the combined entity would be.
It really speaks to a growing maturity in the space, I think. Setting aside technical debates when there's a $100 billion opportunity on the table.
Well, exactly.
Now for the aha moment on the economic side. The data we have here quantifying this it's just staggering. A 2025 study cited in Blockchain Research predicts that these kinds of integrations could unlock $100 billion in what they call idle XRP.
$100 billion, it's a colossal number. To put that into context for you, that's roughly the GDP of a medium-sized European country just being, poof, unlocked for DeFi.
And the projection doesn't even stop there, does it?
Not at all. This integration is predicted to increase the total value locked, the TVL, across the combined ecosystem by a factor of 10, a 10x increase.
That's the kind of exponential growth that just fundamentally reshapes the entire market. I love the analogy one of the sources used. Turning yield-free XRP into an active DeFi asset could make it a monster of returns.
It's a great analogy. It's like you're not just tuning up an old car, you're swapping it for a Tesla. You're upgrading the entire infrastructure.
And there's already proof of momentum. The Midnight Protocol itself, a privacy tech at the core of this, already showed a 427% growth rate in 2025.
So the core technology is already scaling. It's already seeing adoption. That lays a really strong foundation for this massive collaboration.
But of course, whenever you're talking about a project this big, $100 billion, integrating rival systems, you're going to face some pretty significant challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
So moving to Section 4, we need to apply a serious reality check here. Let's talk about the roadblocks.
For sure. The regulatory hurdle is still the biggest one. Hoskinson is explicit about his fear that these politically charged policies, like the reserve proposal, could just invite subpoenas and a ton of scrutiny, derailing the whole thing.
And they're trying to build this next-gen financial tech in a vacuum, without clear guidance.
Exactly. The SEC reports all highlight that. Then you have the technical challenges. And these are really high-stakes security problems. Building secure cross-chain bridges is notoriously difficult.
There was that IE study from 2024 cited in the sources. What did it say?
It issued a pretty chilling warning that 30% of existing bridges have known vulnerability.
30%?
Yeah. And the risk here isn't just a software bug. We are talking about billions of dollars in collateral being potentially exposed to sophisticated hacks. If a bridge fails, the systemic risk is just enormous.
And we can't just ignore the community challenge either. Even with the public apology, you've got years of bad blood and tribalism between the XRP and ADA communities.
That's the human element. The tech integration is one thing. Getting the communities to actually collaborate on governance and vision is something else entirely.
One source joked that what they really need is a crypto summit with karaoke to break the ice.
I mean, humor aside, getting consensus in decentralized governance is slow and difficult, even when everyone's friends. Add in historical animosity, and it gets really tough.
And finally, the economic challenges are still very real. A 10x increase in TVL is the goal, but that requires mass adoption.
Millions of new users, both institutional and retail, all locking up capital. It's a huge goal, even if the tech, according to the IOHK papers, can handle the load. The infrastructure might be there, but you still need market psychology and regulatory clarity to catch up.
So after diving deep into the politics, surprising alliances, and the huge financial potential, what's the final synthesis? What's the main takeaway for the learner?
I think the core conclusion is this. Hoskinson's moves are way more than just crypto drama. They're a profound push toward a more unified, more regulated, and at the same time, more private crypto ecosystem.
So this collaboration, despite all the rivalry and volatility, actually strengthens the whole space.
It does. It strengthens the underlying tech, and crucially, it could unlock tens of billions in value through these really complex DeFi solutions.
So for you, the learner, the takeaway is that this is high-stakes, high-reward territory. Crypto is still volatile. You should only ever risk what you can afford to lose. The potential upside here looks tremendous, but the risks, technical, regulatory, community, they're all still very much in play.
And if we connect all the main threads from this deep dive, the focus on privacy with Midnight, the push for compliant assets like RLUSD, and the engineering to unlock all that passive capital, it really leads to one last provocative thought for you to consider.
Okay, here's the key implication.
The discussion really suggests that the real competition in 2026 might not be between blockchains like ADA and XRP anymore. Instead, it's rapidly becoming a race between the traditional centralized financial systems and these new privacy-enhanced decentralized bridges.
So the question is?
The question is, how quickly will things like RLUSD and Midnight ZK Tech force traditional finance to adapt to this surging demand for private high-speed collateral systems? That collision between the new tech and old finance, that's the ultimate battleground to watch.
Something powerful to mull over until our next deep dive. Thanks for tuning in.